Daniel, greetings.
Greetings to you.
Yeah. Warm holiday wishes
Warm
from this couch to yours.
Yes, warm holiday wishes to you as well.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Man, it does feel a little bit different being back in here, huh?
It does. And to you also, warm holiday wishes.
And also to you. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, deuces.
Oh, man. Deuces. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, it does. Well, different than feeling different. It mostly sounds different.
It sounds so different in here. Man, what is that about, do you think?
Man, just the lore audio genius that is Kyle and Gretta Miller.
Yeah.
So this interview, you'll get to hear a whole different level of quality because we recorded it in the studio with towers.
Yeah. It's very possible that after this, no one will ever listen to any of our previous interviews because they just sound a certain way.
Yeah.
Or our future interviews because they sound a certain way.
I don't know that sound quality is the one thing that's turning people away.
Yeah, I don't think people tune in to be on Flag and say,
Yeah.
this is why I listen.
Yeah. But
It sounds so nice.
yeah, if you choose to listen to this one, just pay close attention to how it sounds right now.
Yeah.
And then if you've jumped in 10 minutes from now,
Just a quick comparison.
The quality difference.
Yeah, no doubt.
So when you're hitting that skip button right now, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds.
30. Yeah, get that 15 mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Boom.
Yeah.
Man, so we're on the tail end of them holidays. Well, Thanksgiving holiday, huh?
Yeah. We are on those holidays. And so I wondered, did you have any holiday spoiler alerts for anyone?
Oh, yeah. Well, had a great holiday, right? Watching, again, spoiler alert, I watched Home Alone. It was amazing to watch that again.
Macaulay Culkin or
Macaulay
like
Culkin,
the
man.
50...
Yeah, dude, the Wet Bandits and with Macaulay Culkin and so good. Spoiler alert though. Yeah.
I forgot
Yeah,
about
dude,
that.
Harry and
dude.
Marv, which you should probably use as us sometime in the audio, in the
dude,
description.
That's going in this
Yeah.
one for sure.
And then when they go to Home Alone 2 and they're the spoiler alert, but they're the sticky bandits. He has all the masking tape on his hand.
I don't know
man.
this one.
Oh, dude, yeah. Home Alone 2. So I ended up watching both Home Alone and Home Alone 2. So spoiler alert, Kevin's okay. He makes it.
Kevin wins.
Kevin wins, man.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Kevin wins.
He out.
So
Yeah.
remind me, what are the Wet Bandits' names again?
Yeah, Marv and Harry. So Marv is Joe Pesci, right? And then Harry's Daniel Stern. There's a yeah. I think
So
Daniel Stern.
which one? So when I put this in the description, who's
I
who?
don't know, man. It's pretty tough. That'd be tough to assign us
I
roles
guess
here.
I'm probably Harry, right?
I suppose, but he's kind of the dumb one.
Well, so
like,
that
that's
fits.
kind of the
Yeah, that fits.
Joe Pesci's kind of the more just cantankerous, like East Coast one, which
Yeah, so the containers kind
Yeah.
of fits me.
yeah.
Which one of us would be really trying to cling to the name the Wet Bandits and the other one's just completely put out by it?
Oh man, I'd be holding very tightly to the Wet Bandits. Yeah, that's such a good name.
I would have to
Yeah.
agree, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, just knock it off.
Oh man, but Kevin just ducking those fools left and right, just every trick in the book, man.
So
And he makes it.
hashtag spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Kevin's safe.
Kevin's okay. Yeah, Kevin's safe. Well done, man. Home Alone.
So today,
Yeah, man.
who we got?
We're going Beyond Flag. We're going Beyond Flag with Gretta and Kyle Miller, the extremely talented married duo that founded the band Towers. And Gretta, a transplant from Las Vegas, Nevada, met Kyle. I still don't know this term, man. Do you know what like a Flagstaffian?
Flagpolian?
Flagpolian, maybe. I was thinking like a Flagstafferino. I don't know what that word.
Flagstafferino? I like that.
Yeah, like a Flagstafferino hometown hero.
Maybe a Flagstafferino Polian?
Flagstafferino-olian. Yeah. A hometown hero.
Rhymes with linoleum?
Linoleum. Oh, man. So they met at the place where knowledge and romance are not found by accident. The Northern Arizona University of the Southwest.
NAU?
NAU. Go
Jumberlax.
Jumberlax. Well done, Lumbers. While dating, Gretta and Kyle began playing music together. So in my mind, I just kind of imagine them serenading one another with some good like Chris Cornell or Nirvana covers.
Those romantic Nirvana covers.
Yeah, man. A little Come As You Are. It smells like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, smells like Teen Spirit.
Yeah. Polly. Yeah, all the good stuff, man. And what this eventually did was led to them creating music and forming the band Towers, which we do not cover in this interview why they spell it the way they do. I believe we were operating under a strict threat to not ask that question. Also, that information can be found in a host of other interviews they've obliged to in the past.
Yeah, so go check it out somewhere else. Not here.
Not here. Yep. So Towers initially consisted of Gretta and Kyle, Emma Chrislett, Kyle Keller, and Corey Miller. Their first album, which was self-titled, dropped in the year 2014. And since that time, the band has released 4 other full-titled albums and various other singles, including Love Who You Love, which was featured on an album titled Serenade, which came out earlier in 2021 and was put together by various artists to celebrate and empower LGBTQ people of faith. In this interview, Gretta and Kyle play live versions of Swaying Evergreens and Curious Woman, 2 of their songs from the album The Holly and the Ivy, which they won a Viola Award for in 2021. And speaking of Viola Awards, Towers have won like 1 million of them.
Yeah, probably 1.2 million.
1,000,002 of them.
Yeah.
So many violas just everywhere.
And those live songs they play, I would hang in there for those 2.
Hang in there for that. Yeah. If nothing else, fast forward, find those songs, huh?
Yeah.
Super good. And so in the past, Towers have toured with a variety of bands, including most recently, the Lone Bellow. And then they have a tour slated for early 2022 where they'll open for Joshua Radin.
Joshua Radin?
Radin.
Isn't that the soundtrack of The Burgeoning Love of Cody and Jamie Bayless?
Yeah, I do kind of reference that in our interview a little bit. I was saying that was a real big thing because, there was a lot of Joshua Radin playing when Jamie and I were first dating.
Just romanticizing.
Yeah, I feel grossed out even just thinking about that. Yeah. So when not writing, recording, or performing for Towers, Gretta can be found at the Commons Church here in Flagstaff, where she was recently announced as a co-pastor. And then Kyle can also be found leading the music and directoring them techs at the same spot.
Directoring?
Directoring them technologies. That's
Okay.
That's a tech director?
Yeah.
Yeah, they direct the tech.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in a particular direction.
And the correct conjugation is directoring.
Directoring. Yeah, directoring them techs. And then collectively, they can be found raising their 2 children, touring the nation in an RV sometimes, or simply enjoying the simple things in life, like dishes. Or at least Kyle is enjoying them dishes.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I didn't recall. So were they talking about how he does dishes around the house?
Yeah, apparently he was the dish guy.
Yeah.
He and I really related on that, I remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, let's go beyond flag with
Gretta and Kyle Miller.
Welcome to Beyond Flag, a Beyond the Pines production, created by, with, and for the people of Flagstaff, building connection in the town we love. We are your hosts,
Dr. Daniel J. Phillips
and Cody Bayless, also known as Dr. Chinchilla Nice Nice. Thanks for tuning in as we go beyond flag, straight from the dunny of our observatory.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
Just my favorite podcast, just like zoom right in.
just kind of jump right in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever y'all want to do.
with like kids talk and that sort of thing.
Well, it'd be like super meta if we just included all of this.
We just hopped in right there. Yeah, man. For me, what if we just started with how has the last year been? I'd be curious to hear about the tour with Lone Bellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This last year has been really interesting. I feel like for me, the year of not performing in front of people was really recentering for me on like what we were doing. You know, we had been kind of thrown into this thing, this Towers thing. It fell into our laps. We decided to pursue it. And then I felt like it quickly became my identity. I think most of my 20s were just spent touring and like thinking about the brand of Towers and writing. And it was just such a strange, even when I was in it, I was really aware of that. But having a year off was really, I think, nice for me personally to sort of be like, why am I doing this? What parts of it do I like? If we do this again, like, can I do it in a different way with a different center that's like grounded in something outside of like what people think of me, and like that having such a big pull on my heart when I'm writing and doing those things. So honestly, it was fantastic for me. But Gretta is like a much less like selfish and
maybe just less heady.
Yeah, you're less heady. Yeah, I couldn't even think of how to like fucking say that because
you're so in
because
your
I'm
head.
so heady.
No, this last year, yeah, it was definitely. I think we both went into it just kind of with our hands up in the air, like we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know what it's gonna bring, what we're gonna be able to do. But yeah, just this last summer of 2021, getting able to play some shows again, starting with some outdoor shows, and then in October playing some shows indoors again with the Lone Bellow. It was just really sweet. It was really different than our normal tours, because normally in the past we've toured with, a 5-piece band, and we bring our 2 kids along and a nanny, and it's just a car full of people. And these last shows, it was just Kyle and I and a couple guitars, and we got to kind of be the openers. And I think it was a really sweet experience, like getting to go on first, getting to just play for 45 minutes and then just hang out with people after that. It was just a fun time and a sweet experience, and a good reminder, I think, that like we can do this, and that people are still excited and participating in what we're doing, which I think reignites some of that excitement for us also.
And also the like other side of that, of like some people like didn't care at all. Like they didn't care at all who we were. And it was something so great about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it was great. But, and to have that moment of like, really it is just us and our songs. And like, can we capture a room of people that don't have any experience with us before? That kind of art, I think we really haven't done that before. Usually people are coming out because we're headlining, and so that was kind of fun too about that. Is some nights I feel like we knocked it out of the park, and other nights I was like, oh man, like we were truly an opening act tonight.
Yeah.
But,
For sure.
yeah.
And so over the last year, touring with Lone Bellow, and something I was curious about was like going back even further, right? You mentioned touring all 5 of y'all, you had your kids, nanny, that sort of thing. It seems like the band has evolved a lot over time too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've had multiple band members over the last 6 years of Towers. How long have we been doing this?
It's like almost 8.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
whatever that. Yeah. The pandemic years don't count. We just don't remember those.
Yeah.
But yeah, we started, with Kyle's brother Corey playing drums, and our friends Emma and Keller. And Emma and Keller have been with us the whole time. We've had a few different drummers come in. And our most recent band was our friend Dan playing drums, and Emma and Keller as well. And it's been really sweet transition, honestly. I feel like there wasn't any hard feelings or weirdness. It was very natural transitions of our friend Dan moving away to Nashville, and our friend Keller moving to New York, and our friend Emma is getting her master's in cello and just kind of diving deeper into that world. And I think all of them are so wonderful, and I know that if we called them and asked them to record a song with us or even play a show with us, they would probably jump on it, hopefully. But I also feel like there's this freedom of, hey, we're all excited and just encouraging each other in our own paths. And so that kind of allows Kyle and I just to lean into what we're doing and have a few less cooks in the kitchen, and kind of dial in our acoustic set, but also expand on, okay, if we want to bring other musicians in, even outside of that core that we started with, we can, hire out anyone for unique sounds that we want to bring to the table.
Mm-hmm. It makes me curious, is there like a different synergy or a different energy with every different configuration, or is the writing process just come through you two, so it's pretty similar across the span?
It depends on the record, because I think each one we have sort of a different vision going into it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the first 2 definitely had we were all in the same room, and we would play through a song with that original group of people. And then as time has gone on and people have moved or gotten married or whatever it might be, I feel like it all changes the sound a lot. There's a different synergy every time. And as of late, our most recent kind of band makeup is these people that live in Colorado, and we go out there and work with them. And so the Holly and the Ivy was us in a room with them. And yeah, everyone's bringing to the table their different backgrounds and things that they're into music wise, different goals for the music, and it's all kind of like pushing and pulling and like needing out the songs, and so each one sort of turns out a different way, which is what Towers means. Like that's what the idea of it is, recognizing that type of energy when you're creating anything, really, is that what you picture it as isn't always necessarily going to be what it is in the end, because there's a lot of different people, even if it's just us two, lending into it, whether that be through mixing or advice or producing or drums or whatever it is. So
Yeah, when you look back to your first record, which was self-titled, right?
Mhm.
And was that like 2014,
2014, yeah.
2014? Ah, that's bananas, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So weird.
I was just wondering, like, looking back, so 8 years ago, about, like you're saying, and then just how would you describe how your style has changed over time?
Yeah, and we both speak to this in different ways, probably. I think there's a lot of differences. I mean, when we started, there's even just different instruments involved. Our first few albums have a lot of cello and banjo and harmonicas and a lot of that going on. Whereas our later albums, we phased out of a little bit of the banjo and some of those things. I feel like we, just as musicians, have developed our sound, even vocally. Like, our voices have changed over the albums. And I think we've probably grown a little bit more, even in the world of, like, there's more moments of rock and roll, but there's more intimate moments of singer-songwriter, and we've learned how to lean into those in different ways. But I feel like the biggest change, and maybe this is just me because I feel like my head is so much more lyric focused than production focused, but is just the content. I feel like we, just as writers and as a team figuring out writing together, have just gone on a journey. I feel like in our songs we've always told our stories and been pretty vulnerable about stuff we're processing about marriage and life and politics and kids and hard things and all of that. And I think that rings true through all of them, but I think we have leaned into just the nuances of being really poetic, where things are kind of hidden and woven into the lyrics, but also found that balance of being hopefully relatable, where people can still hold on to something and understand parts of the message, and maybe it's understood differently than we even meant it to be perceived. I think that's been really cool. Sometimes we'll write a song and it means one thing to us, and then we go to a show and someone's like, oh my gosh, this song is awesome, it means this to me, and I'm like, whoa, that's a really different interpretation, but that's so cool that you connect with it in that way. And that's what art is, right? Art is just us creating something, and then it's in the eye of the beholder. They get to make it their own, which is a sweet part of it.
I think for how I feel like we've changed the most over the last 7 to 8 years is, I think I'm just becoming more and more okay with my own voice, and how I've seen how on all of the records I've really tried to lean into these particular vocal styles that I really like and want to emulate in others, because the voice is an instrument. It's like anything else, you can do different things to it to make it sound different ways. So I feel like where I'm trying to land, and kind of like my mantra as I'm creating, is the thing that we do with our bodies and with our voice, no one else can do, because no one else has our body. And so trying to celebrate that, I think, in our music and in the way that we create, and trusting my body, trusting my instinct and my intuition. So yeah, the journey of the artist to me has been how do I figure out how to accept myself and love myself, and then I'm gonna make the best thing, and I'm gonna be able to live with it and enjoy playing it. Some of those early songs are so hard to play for me, and some of them I won't play unless someone specifically asks me.
Yeah.
And then I'll do it, because I'm like, if you came here and wanted to hear that song, I want to play it for you. Yeah. But if no one's asking, I'm not playing anything off of those first couple records, because
those early records.
Because I think that journey can sometimes be hard to bear, and I think because I didn't think we were gonna do this for a living, so I think the seriousness of which I put into those first records, which may be the magic of them, wasn't maybe what I have hoped now later, having it as a career, looking back and being like, dang, I wish I would have done those things differently or thought about that. Or so yeah, it's just this long arc of self-acceptance, and I think that goes into everything sonically, but on a more just on a more like on paper explanation, I'm really becoming more and more drawn to just organic things. This next record, one of our goals is to record a decent amount of it live with our band. We've never done that before. We've always done kind of like a broken up, we do guitar, then we do vocals, and I'm because I'm on that journey of that self-acceptance and loving the sound of like a creaking chair when someone's recording, or someone being like before the take, or the sound of like the noise in our lips. I'm just like, that's art, that's music. I want to make that. And whatever that day when we decide to hit record, whatever it brings, like I'm just excited about that. So moving forward, that's like some of our sonic goals.
Well, so I thought you said it so eloquently when you said it was like this arc of self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And so it kind of implies that there are these ways that you probably looked at yourself as wanting to be something different, or that
Totally.
you were self-critical of what was organically there, and so you were trying to match something else,
Right.
which you've grown into just accepting or actually honoring.
Right.
Yeah. So when you all sing, do you find ways to criticize, and how do you get over that? Or how did you make that arc work to come towards self-acceptance?
I feel like it's probably been more my journey than it has yours in some ways. Are you not as vocal about it as I am?
I mean, I think especially when we play shows, everything is raw, everything is live. And so, yeah, there's going to be nights where you feel really great. There's going to be nights where you're like, man, that song I was super pitchy, or like my voice cracked right there. But the cool thing about a live show is like, you don't just say, oh, stop, like, let's redo that. You keep going. And
It's real life.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost just like a good analogy for life. Like, that stuff's going to happen. We're going to keep going. We're going to have fun. Like, sometimes we might get frustrated at it. Sometimes we might laugh at it together. And it's okay. And it's all part of it. And I think even being musicians and even getting to tour with other bands or go to other shows, like, I love that. Sometimes when someone is putting on a show and like their voice cracks or something little happens, it's like, I love it. It makes me feel like they're human and I can connect with them and I appreciate it. So yeah, I think it's just that recognition and learning of just like, okay, that's going to happen and I'm going to go out there and try my best and I want to do this with excellence, but it's okay. And we can love ourselves through it and encourage each other through it. I feel like after shows, we're always post-processing and kind of like, oh, like what happened on this song, or like this one felt really good, or, bouncing it off of each other. And it's almost like we have to like say it out loud and vent it sometimes if there was something, that was less than what we hoped it would be. But then after that, it's like, cool. And now it's done. And we get to try again tomorrow. And people are so kind afterwards. And it's great.
I feel like what you're saying is kind of like getting to where maybe what my answer would be, which is I think any form, because we have to criticize too. We have to self-criticize that's how we grow. That's how we create new things. And I think that for me, all that has to come from that center of just being enough already, of like, and also people probably don't care as much as I care. Like I probably think people are thinking about me way more than people are actually thinking about me. Like no one's thinking about me or cares about that. And it's
in
like
a freeing sense.
Yeah.
Not that you don't matter.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's the glass half full. Yeah. So to me, I think where I try to land on that arc of like health, because it doesn't always happen. Like some nights I'll drink too much, and after the show it'll be like, I'll be like, Greta, like we should just quit. Like this is the worst thing. Like why are we doing this? This is so stupid. I sounded so bad. So I think there's nights where it's like I'm not in like a good center, but I think overall, and that's why it's like that arc. It's up and down in a lot of ways, but where I'm trying to be these days is that special place of amusement with it, of like, can't believe this is happening. Like this is so silly that we even exist to begin with, and then that people are like that streaming was invented and now we like have a career in that, and like I don't know, it's hilarious to me. It's amusing, but I want to take it seriously just the right amount, So I don't know if that answers it, and maybe it's different for everything, but that inherent center of like, we can only do what we can do, and after that, I don't know if it's worth going down any more like rabbit holes in our brains.
Yeah, you know what that brought up for me was, I think in our field a lot of times I think of like early career professionals, and people who are new in supervision will often want to know what is the right modality. You know, they're like, what's the right thing for this person at this time? And how do I do this and this? And is there a worksheet or a handout? And it's kind of like, yeah. You know, eventually you need to train yourself to be okay with just being in the chair.
Yeah.
You know, like you just have to be comfortable being in the chair, and then there's not necessarily this modality. And when you're describing, like, I guess I was wondering, were you describing approaching those early records with like a real sense of seriousness, like
Totally.
kind of like white knuckling it or death gripping it to try to get it right or get it perfect or something like that?
Oh my God, yeah, don't you think so? Or at least I was like so in it.
Yeah, maybe you were.
Greta's a very consistent person.
Yeah.
I love that about her.
Yeah.
I'm like vulnerable enough to say like I'm not that, but I think that's maybe one of my better qualities too, because it's pretty fun.
It's so fun. Most of the time.
It's so fun.
But no, I do think that does nail it on the head. I think it's that white knuckle, that control aspect that you realize that as you just go on in life too, that you're like, I have, as I'm sure you do in y'all's profession, of like, I actually don't have very much control over this except for presence.
Yeah.
You know, and that's maybe the best thing I offer, and somehow applying that to our art I think is helpful.
Yeah. I actually, beyond like our field or you all being musicians, I think it's like what you were talking about, Greta. It's really an analogy for life. Like there are going to be times that there are ups and downs, times you feel comfortable or uncomfortable with what's going on, and actually persisting in something and tolerating both ends of the spectrum is really the key to it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think the first time, I mean, I would think when Towers was putting out that first record too, and 8 years ago, that you're kind of thinking like, this is us putting this out into the world, and I would think that would feel super vulnerable.
Yeah.
Man, people are gonna be listening to this and gonna check out my lyrics.
Oh man, totally. Yeah, and it's the first one too, so it's the first impression.
Yeah.
And because of the way the Spotify algorithm works, don't get me started. Like people are gonna be clicking on this way more than like we were in Amarillo staying with some friends who like are dear friends, like good supporters of our music, pay us money to come and play for them. I was talking to them about this very thing, and they're like, you have a fourth record? And I was like, I have 5 records. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, we had no idea. Spotify like won't let us see it.
Oh, no.
You can see it. It's just not in the top 5, and then even in the discography, you have to click like see all
it
discography.
it self-perpetuates itself. If you like are discovering an artist, you go to their top 5 to check them out. You know, and those are the things that keep building and building and building.
We got to get a Spotify whistleblower, like Facebook. We need to get this addressed.
I think it's already tried to happen a few times, and I don't know if it's happening to any avail.
Yeah, well, they're clearly causing harm if people are going through the world thinking that you only have 3 records and aren't aware that you have a 4th and a 5th record. Something's wrong.
I like that.
Yeah,
we got to take
There's
the
a lot
man
of good
down.
we get from it too.
Yeah.
Oh no, we got to take the man down.
Yeah, this is
Cody
right
and
in
I
our
are on
wheelhouse.
this. You know, Cody was going down a path though, talking about the vulnerability of putting that first album out there. I have this question for you all. I think you all being married, having a relationship, in my mind, I think to myself, playing music or being an artist has got to be a vulnerable thing. At what point did you each individually begin playing music? And then when you all meet, what was that like to play in front of each other or then decide to play together, which is probably a long span of time to address any of that. But I'd be really curious how you approached that and whether you were nervous playing in front of each other early on.
Do you remember?
So long ago. Kind of, yeah.
We've been together like 12 years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, a bunch of times. So I feel like the first initial kind of, you know, what's kind of funny is before Greta and I were together, we both did a lot of stuff like through church and things like that. And so most of our kind of like art experience was in those types of like, I wouldn't call them safer settings, but they are in some ways safer.
Or just less vulnerable. It's less about you. Yeah.
But we played a show. One of like the very first times that we played music together, we decided to like play a little show together at a coffee shop, and this was before we were dating. And I remember that time being really special, don't you? Like a really great way to get to know you. I think I'm already like a pretty like vulnerable person just right out of the gate. Like I feel pretty comfortable like with people. And which songwriting is like definitely up there for a vulnerable activity you could do with somebody. So I don't know. I felt really comfortable with you, and I was excited about the way our voices sounded together, and you're just an amazing person. It was kind of all wrapped up in the beginning of our love story, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to what you were asking about, like how we each individually started music, you know, for me, and I think for both of us, it kind of started in our childhood, whether that be like taking piano lessons as a kid or taking voice as a kid. And then I was a big choir nerd growing up in middle school and high school, and that was really sweet. And I had a friend when I was in middle school who was like, more girls need to know how to play guitar. Like, let me teach you how to play guitar. And I was like, okay, I don't know. So I started taking guitar lessons and did that for a little bit. But I kind of just dabbled in a lot of different things and mainly did vocal stuff. And yeah, when I met Kyle, you know, I had seen him like play songs or play, and I knew he was a musician, and that was obviously a really attractive thing because I also loved that world. But when we started playing music, we started playing just covers and stuff, which even though that is vulnerable in some regard, like singing or playing an instrument, it's less vulnerable. But yeah, like Kyle was saying, when we moved into that, getting ready for that little coffee shop show, I think we wrote like 2 originals or something for that show, and then the rest were a couple covers and stuff. And I'm sure that they were not good at all. I hope they're not on YouTube somewhere. But
they're on Spotify.
Oh man.
Yeah. Buried
Yeah,
somewhere.
and we
Algorithm, bro.
the algorithm.
You're safe.
But yeah, I think there did seem to just be some sort of excitement with them. And even though it was scary in some regard, because I had never written music with anyone, I had tried to write a few of my own songs and had dabbled in that. Kyle was really the first person that I wrote songs with in that way. So it definitely took a level of courage, but I also think it bonded us in some ways, and it's such a push and pull. And I'm sure we were like extra kind and gracious with each other in that time because we had crushes on each other. So we were like, I'm sure we just thought everything each other said was extra cool because of that setting. Whereas now we can just like be like, that sucks. What are you talking about?
I'm going to sue you.
I'm going to sue you, dude.
Which lawsuits are just a sign of love.
That's
totally
right.
decided.
Yes.
Yes.
That was like, that was the context you need to know that joke.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I you know, and what's crazy too is I think it's pretty obvious that we all change over time, and I think that, don't you think we have to relearn how to write together all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're writing this new record, and I've been spending a ton of time producing and writing and recording other bands, and we haven't been doing quite as much together these days, just kind of, you know, practical reasons of trying to like make the studio build out a bit more. And we started writing together last week, and I was like, whoa, we have to like figure this out again, and figure out how to communicate disagreements. Like, that's so much a part of what it is communicating those disagreements. But did we answer your question? I don't even know. I feel like I danced around it.
How you started? How did you start playing music?
I was really involved with violin growing up. I played violin until I was in middle school. That was like a huge part of my musical upbringing. And then my dad is like such a beautiful human, and has done something that I think not a lot of humans can do, which is become softer as you grow older. I just don't think that that's easy to do, and he has. I really love him a lot for it. One of the like first things he did, which I think was an indicator of, he worked a ton when I was growing up. He was just like this hard ass boss that, he worked like 70 plus hours a week, you know, at this distribution center here in town. And he was like, I want to learn guitar together. So we started playing guitar together, this guy Brad, he's still over there. He was like, it was so cool. I was like 14. He smelled like cigarettes so thick, man. I thought it was the coolest thing. And we'd learn like Led Zeppelin covers together and like old Beatles songs. So that's when I started doing guitar, was with my dad. And then just took off from there, and I was involved with like church and stuff like that. And that was a big part of my musical upbringing as well. Up until, when Greta and I started writing songs together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was wondering when you were talking about the arc of self-acceptance, right? And I guess I'm wondering about those early disagreements in songwriting and what's out like then versus maybe now.
Totally, yeah. I feel like it was totally this growing phase. Like I said earlier, there was probably this like early phase of just like anything goes because we just are like enamored with this new love, right? And then getting into like, oh, we want to keep doing this, but we want to write better songs, because if we just say yes to everything, they're not going to be great songs. You know what I mean? So I think there was a phase of us having to like challenge each other a little bit more and push and pull and, learn when to give and when to take. And I think there was definitely some really hard times. I feel like we didn't fight a lot when we were dating, but I think the main times we did was about songwriting. And I feel like the first time I like cried at Kyle was about songwriting and like feeling hurt.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I think it's so, and I think we recognize this now, how sweet our different styles are. Like, Kyle is such a poet and such a beautiful, deep thinker, and thinks in a way that I think is so amazing because I don't even understand it. Whereas sometimes my writing styles, I'm like, I want to write a children's book. I want to write, like a funny, like poem. I want to, write something that's a little more straightforward and graspable. And so I think at first, like, I would bring ideas to the table and I would be really wounded if like maybe it wasn't cool enough or it was a little cheesy or something like that. And so we really had to like talk through that, and we had to wrestle with that. But I think ultimately now it really has brought us to a place where when we come together and we both write a song together and bring both of those things to work in flow, that's when we write our best songs.
Yeah, and that goes along with the self-acceptance narrative too, of like, I think you do your best work as an artist when you're in that kind of like centered flow with yourself of like just loving yourself. And I think the thing that makes Towers cool and what it is you and I writing songs together. And like the tension and the dissonance and the beauty of that. So I think we've gotten better at it over the years. And we also know what each other's strengths are a little bit more too. I think over this last like 8 years of writing together, we're like, I know, like now I honestly write these like very cryptic poems, and then I bring them inside to Greta on our writing days, and I'm like, just translate this into like normal human, and like
Children's book.
Yeah. And we find like we meet in the middle, and it's awesome. That's kind of our flow these days.
Yeah.
That's so cool. From a lyric standpoint, I'd be curious to hear even just the things that have interested you over time. For me, it just seems like y'all are willing to go to places to talk about the human experience in really raw and relatable ways.
Yeah, I think someone said this to me, and I don't know if it's like a quote that is like a known quote, but it's the specific is universal and the universal is specific. And I think the best songs are really specific. And so I think what informs us and what inspires us in that way is trying to be as specific as we can get, and feel comfortable with in the songs, which is pretty far down that line, don't you think? I'm not sure if that's what you're asking. Is that kind of like along the lines?
Yeah, certainly. I'm thinking from a content standpoint, and the things that you naturally feel like, this is something that I have to put on the paper, or this is something I have to communicate through music, through my voice.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times the initial lyric idea starts with some sort of dissonance inside of myself, trying to, whether that be like a lot of our music deals with the dissonance of the spiritual experience and coming to a place of like beauty and acceptance in that arena. The acceptance of the self over the time of our songwriting career, over my life. And so I feel like, yeah, we're inspired, I think, by that tension that I find it really easy to write a lot more about like tension kind of things than I do about sort of like very joyful, which was our Christmas record. Was we tried to get into that a bit more. But yeah, if there isn't like an antagonist in the poem, it feels like a little less archy to me and like not quite as much fun. So I tend to write a little darker, and having writing be a process of that fleshing out for me, I think is what typically starts off our songs, at least.
Yeah, and I think we have, so many different topics we address. I think when we see things, and sometimes they're joyful things, sometimes they're sad things, and we write songs about it. I mean, we have songs about our friends who had a miscarriage. We have songs about being inspired by our friend who's loving their brother as he's going through rehab and addiction. We have songs about a political issue and calling something out that we believe needs to be called out. We have songs about loving our child so much and wanting to be the best version of ourselves for them. And kind of what Kyle was saying with that tension, I feel like that was a big theme in our most recent album, besides our Christmas album. Our most recent album was New Nostalgia. And I mean, even that New Nostalgia was about like this old thing, but like seeing it in a new way. And, we have this analogy of like, we have this old bike in our backyard. It's this like rusty old tandem bike that Kyle got for me when he proposed to me. And it's this like sweet bike, but we just let it sit outside for, years and years, and it got all gross and falling apart. And we decided like, hey, let's either get rid of this or let's like fix it up. And, you have to like strip everything off of it and decide like, okay, what's worth keeping, what's worth holding on to, and what do we need to like replace and put something new in there. And I feel like that was an analogy for our life as we were like writing this most recent album. Like, okay, what is still good about like whatever it is, these beliefs, these like ways we've gone about life, and what needs to be exchanged with something, or what needs to be taken off because it's no longer functional or helpful. So I think that tension just rings true in our most recent album of like holding the tension of sorrow and joy, holding the tension of keeping something and letting go of something, or being in love with something, even though it can hurt you, or whatever those tensions are. And I think that's where art is.
Yeah, real quick for our listeners, go get New Nostalgia. For me, that's like, that record stands out in a different way compared to your earlier records. Was Great Fidelity before that one?
Yeah, that was the third, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like the jump from Great Fidelity to New Nostalgia, like something happened, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I told you, Kyle, that when I first heard that record, for me, it was like listening to Wilco's Sky Blue Sky the first time.
Dude, you can't even pay me a higher compliment. Like, I'll just like, that record's right there, man. I like, at my funeral, I told Greta, I was like, because I'll probably die first. Because I'm just like, I'm
going for it.
I'm like, cynical.
You always say you're gonna die first because I'll be late.
Yeah,
I won't be on time.
Because you're never ready.
Greta, I get that. I get that.
That's like an old country joke. Like, I know I'm gonna die first because you're never ready, or something like that. But yeah, Sky Blue Sky, man. Just put that baby on.
Yeah.
Front to back. Hang out, have some drinks.
Oh man.
Dude,
that record like has a tone to it, like a warmth. There's something about it, and I still remember putting it on for the first time. And to me, when I put on New Nostalgia for the first time, it brought back that exact same feeling.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, something happened.
Yeah,
I guess I'd be curious to hear about the New Nostalgia in terms of process and what was going on for you too when you wrote that. Yeah,
well, New Nostalgia was really that. It was like, it was sort of dissecting a lot of memory. And the whole record was memory, as a lot of songs are. Some songs, they're trying to tell a story that's away from maybe your personal life, or they're like idealistic, thinking about the future. These songs were like zoomed in on specific moments of our life, really specific. One of the songs, I went through our house and just like took mental pictures of different things happening in our house, and I wrote them as lyrics, paradox, around this one memory of Greta and I crying in the Safeway parking lot together, which I don't remember why we were crying.
Who knows?
But I likened it to all these different objects in our house, just really specific, deciding which of these memories, what were the things about them that were great, that we needed to move forward with, and which things did we need to leave behind. And I think one of the biggest parts of new nostalgia for me was bitterness, man. Like, we're such products of our environment, and it's complicated. You know, there's lots of things that play into that. There were specific things about the like more religious and spiritual things that I was trying to like wrestle through and figure out like which of this is good to take forward, because I still feel so connected to it, and which of it is like happened outside of me. And it was a lot of just like dissecting and like splitting hairs, and I felt like I got done with that record. It was so weird, man. I just felt like I was done. Like I just was not to say that I was like perfectly healed by any means, but I just felt like, man, bitterness is like such a hard thing to keep up, and I just felt tired, and I wanted to just get it out in that record. And yeah, I think everyone's always overflowing all the time, and I think I wanted to do that record because I wanted my overflow in life to be something different than that bitterness. And so there's a lot of exercising of some demons in it, more so than the other ones. In fact, some of the songs are about our first records and being like, I had to just way overthinking yourself, you know? Like being like, these are things that have helped us to grow, or we've been able to buy a house, do all these really great things. And I hate singing them. I like don't want to sing them. Why? And I'm at a different place now. But yeah, that was hard. So I felt like it was just that. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I feel like that's true. I think I've noticed that in you, you know, that moving on and that letting go of that bitterness. And I've noticed it at shows when people ask you questions, you know, about our first albums or about your spirituality. There's the defense is down. You're so excited to engage in those conversations, and it's so sweet watching you in that setting. And yeah, I just think that these songs, they really were healing in that way. And yeah, I mean, I even think about a song, like we have a song in there called All the Sundered Things, and I mean, there's a lot of things that song can mean.
Greta didn't want to name it All the Sundered Things because she didn't like it. She didn't know what that was.
I learned what the word sundered means.
That's an example.
Which is
beautiful. You were so kind and like met me in that. Yeah,
totally. But no, I mean that song is just about. I mean, the main line in the chorus is, I can't get my arms wide enough. And it was just this, like, not only self-acceptance, but this growing of, like, man, like, we're all just connected. Like, we're all just,
I was trying,
like,
man.
everyone is welcome to the table. Everyone is included. Like, if there's anything in my life where I'm excluding someone, like, that needs to go. And, like, so I think it was just such a fun album to process, alongside you.
Yeah, and it was the first one we did here. So in this room, we recorded all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
oh, man, I bet you were pumped.
I was terrified, too. You had no idea what I was doing.
Huh.
But it was like the first, like, bigger record I had done. Like, it was just demos for other people previously. So there was a lot of excitement around that. A lot of, like, I think so much magic happens when someone doesn't know what they're doing, but going for it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why people's first records, sometimes the greatest, or why people fall in love with, like, someone's first body of work, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting to hear you describe new nostalgia as being this, like, cathartic experience in which you're, like, kind of getting rid of bitterness, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. It's like, to me, I experienced that record as such a warm kind of feeling. Like, it just feels so good.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted that, and I think that I, like, wanted I feel like when I think of music, I picture it really visually, and I pictured a lot of, like, golds and oranges, and, like, kind of like what I've set up here in the studio, like a very warm sound, a lot of ribbon mics, and just it sounded like a bit muddier almost because I wanted that. I also feel like Memory is fairly muddy, so I wanted that kind of tension in the music as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like cathartic was the word I thought of too, as you both described that, like just such a process of catharsis.
mm-hmm.
And as you were talking about it, you talked about also feeling emotionally exhausted. And for me, what came to mind is, when we experience that internal tension in life, sometimes we have the natural inclination to like turn away from and avoid it.
Right.
And actually, if we turn towards it and engage it, it can be exhausting. But then that's where the catharsis comes, or the clarity comes.
Yeah.
Through that actual process, rather than just turning away and trying to put it off or avoid it.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me it felt like obsessive. Like I couldn't not continue to stare at it. And even now this like stack of paper over here is the songs we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like even now a lot of those themes, they're still embedded in me. They're working themselves out in different ways, but I don't know where I was going with that, but maybe we just all write the same song over and over and over.
No, I actually, listening to you two is great, because the way you talk about art, I can't help but perpetually throughout listening to you two think about how many analogies you guys are talking about in life generally.
Yeah, it's odd.
And so I think you all keep talking about specifics, and then for me, I get this universal message about how that is just how life is.
Yeah.
A minute ago, you both spoke to something where you were talking about that self-acceptance. You talked about your joint writing process, and you said you think you understand each other more, including strengths, but also you understand what the opposite of strengths were, however you'd want to define those growth areas, or whatever. And so I thought in that moment, listening to you both, there's this clarity. It may be that self-acceptance is correlated with a clarity about who you are, who the people you are relating to, what they are. And when you can authentically own just what is, it probably allows for some degree of acceptance. What do you all think about that?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it makes the whole experience a lot more joyful too, because then you're not putting some sort of expectation on somebody that's just really unfair, you know? I think, gosh, it feels like songwriting has been such this gift to us, because, when I would play sports, I feel like I could exercise my anger there. I could like get something out. And like, as I've grown older, there's not quite as many places to do that. And songwriting in our relationship feels like this, like, it's this battleground. It's this place of joy. It's this stage of failure and success. And I think we probably like 5 years ago, when I realized like, this is actually like, we could have like a career, like this is a thing, like we've been doing this for long enough that like we could decide to continue if we wanted. I think I was like, okay, that would be really hard because of this and this, and this like kind of self-acceptance thing of like, well, I don't know if I like love the things that we did initially. And I feel like the thing I tried to embed in it that then goes into normal life is just that, well, then I gotta be just cool with who I am. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally. And I love how you said that, like, you recognize your strengths and you bring that together, but you also recognize like where you can grow. And I think that that's been really cool too, because it's not like we have just been like, cool, like you're good at that, so I'm not going to do that at all. Or, like I do feel like there's been a sweet like transformation, or like, and maybe it's us meeting in the middle sometimes and learning from each other, or just challenging ourselves. But I feel like for myself, at least, that this last year, and especially during the pandemic and having more time just to like sit in my head a little bit more, has been really cool to challenge that. And when we wrote our Christmas album, there were some songs that were the opposite. Like, okay, I wrote something for Curious Woman, and I wrote something for Softer on My Mind, and I wrote the first part of it and then brought it to Kyle, where normally it's been the opposite. And
yeah, you wrote all of Curious Woman basically.
Yeah. But that's such a fun like scary in some ways, or it's like, oh, is it good enough? Is it Towers, or do I need to like have a solo project? I don't know. But I feel like it has been like, okay, just because you're good at those things doesn't mean I can't like try and learn and grow and stretch myself. And so yeah, I think that that's a really sweet thing. And just like you, like how you're talking about our first 2 albums, I feel like this last year we decided to make our first 2 albums on vinyl because we've never done that before. And people
Just
love
stare it right in the eye.
Yeah, and it was like, man, that means we're
good.
promoting these things again. Is that what we want to do? And I feel like it was so cool watching you because we like remastered them and sat with them and made them the best they could be and printed them on vinyl. And I feel like you fell in love with them again in a new way.
In a totally different way.
Yeah.
And love might even be like a stretch in some ways. I felt like I appreciated them. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Like little Kyle.
Good job.
Everything's okay, man, and no one cares as much as you do, bro. So like, just chill out and like put them out and enjoy it. It's been a real gift. Yeah, it's been cool to like get those in our hands again and be like, yeah, this is what it's about. This is what being an artist is about. It's not about like the product that we make. It's like, can you look at your first song and be like loving to yourself again?
Yeah, I was thinking, gosh, man, like almost if we had interviewed you, the moment that you started to get attention, the tower started to get attention, what that interview would have sounded like compared to now.
Oh,
yeah,
it'd be crazy.
Do we get attention now?
Hey, you're on Spotify, man.
I'm on Spotify, dude. Dude, the algorithm's on Spotify.
Those things are messed up.
Have you heard about those, Cody?
Dude,
the algorithms on Spotify.
Yeah. Do you remember a moment maybe for each of you when it started to feel like, wow, Towers is like getting some recognition or getting a little bit of attention? And I'd wonder what that was like for you both.
Yeah. I think at first it felt like so much local attention, like, oh, it's so cool that people in Arizona care what we're doing or something, you know, or in Flagstaff care what we're doing and are excited and want to come out to shows. And I think it felt weird or crazy when it was like, oh, we have people messaging us from these different states or from these different countries. Like that was such a strange thing that I could make something in my friend's studio and that someone so far away is like connecting with it. But I feel like the big switch in our path and in that mindset was when we got a call from who's now one of our best friends, but our manager, Paul, who was living in Portland at the time and had come across our music and really connected with it, and flew out to Flagstaff and met with us and got to talk to us about what it would be like to work with him. And so the idea of like not only being sought out by a manager, but learning about what that means and what that would bring and what we would be saying yes to, I feel like was such a big switch from like local to like what else could be outside of just that, which was exciting and scary too. You know, you hear so many horror stories of people being taken advantage of, or record labels or independent, or what do you do? And we just didn't know very much about that world yet, but yeah, very grateful for Paul and his just friendship along that journey.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I've spent much time with the thought intentionally, which is maybe a good critique, but I think our first tour, we had kind of spent like a whole year prepping for it, and to see people like show up to shows was so bizarre to me. I was like, and to do like a West Coast run and like have it just be like, it was crazy to me. I feel like now the place that I try to land, because we're just like an indie folk band, you know, like some nights we'll be in Waco, Texas, and we'll sell like over 500 tickets. The next night we'll sell like 20 tickets in some city. And like, I don't know, there's not a lot of consistency in that way. And like, so I feel like I've tried to take this posture of everything, and this goes into sort of the more like meta stuff that we've been talking about, how it applies to all of life, but as it applies also to Towers and like the moments that I've felt like, whoa, this is cool how people know about this. I feel like I've just been like, I'm just grateful, man. I'm grateful that people care enough. I'm grateful you guys care enough to like ask us questions. Like, it's so nice of you. Like, you're really good at it too, by the way. And just like I think like being on the road and stuff, there's a lot of stress around that. And we've spent enough time on the road now. I'm like, oh my God, I can't invest any energy into that. Like, whoever will show up, and I'm going to try to just give them a great evening of like sharing my soul. Yeah. And, you know, whatever happens. So I've also, the life of like a touring artist, it does have an arc. Like, and you never know really where you are in the bell curve. You're like, maybe we're at the top, maybe we're continuing up, maybe it's on the descend. And just being grateful for wherever it is, that we're just moving in any direction, and that that the train is still like plugging along. I just feel grateful, and just trying to take an open palms kind of approach to it of like, cool, you know, if we get to do it for another 10 years, I'll be so psyched. And that's what I think COVID did a lot of too, because I don't know if I would have said that quite as like just from my heart as I would have previously. Of like, yeah, you know, maybe I thought after COVID, I was like, maybe this is it, you know, maybe I'll go get another job and it'll be fine. Because I've also seen through songwriting, like, I'm a songwriter, but that's not who I am. Like, that's something I do and I love and it brings me life. But I'm like a lot more than that, I hope. So, you know? So I also think like that perspective all the time is helpful when there are moments that I do feel that way. Or like before I walk out on stage and there's a lot of people. Or when there's nobody, I'm just like, this is hilarious. Like, look at all of these fools. Like, they've all come and bought tickets.
You've tricked them all.
I've tricked every single one of them. And I'm going to go out and just continue, like, just being amusing. And it's so fun, man. I love it. So.
We recently did an episode on imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It's a lot of language.
Did you trick these fools because you got lucky, or did you trick them because only you could have to work that hard to get these people in the building? What you said? Yeah.
Both evidences of imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like, there's a fine line, certainly. We have worked really hard to get to where we are, and like, but by no means. The music industry is such a interesting thing, because like there's people way more talented than Greta and I that should be doing what we're doing as a vocation, and they don't. And it's like, why not? I don't understand, you know? So I think I just recognize the gift of it. And I think that's the fine line between the imposter syndrome and recognizing like, I'm still working hard, but it is kind of a gift. Like it all sort of just is. So.
Sure. What can I ask about the music industry just a little bit and your experience with it? I'd really be curious about it. Like, just like the art and what happens in here. Just looking around here, like this feels amazing. Right? Like this feels amazing. And then to me, it just seems like there's this other world out there that probably doesn't.
I think there's so much going on, don't you? So Greta and I have been really fortunate that we've had this partner, Paul, our manager, to kind of like guide us through a lot of that stuff and sort of like hedge us in when there was moments we needed a little bit more protection from like a bad deal or something like that. And so I feel like we've had a pretty positive experience for the most part. But we've had some negative experiences. I think there's, like anything, it's a industry run by money, and it's an industry run by clicks, and which is why the Spotify, to be totally serious, that's why like when you're feeding that algorithm and the clicks, it's just going to benefit you more. It's why people have kind of shifted to more of the singles game rather than the album game. So I feel like Greta and I try to play the game. We try to like partake in it as much as we need to, and then like, we're not interested at this time in a record deal. We like can do most of the stuff that a record label does now because of the world that we live in. So we've tried to foster, I sort of realized pretty early on, like everyone was making it up. They were just kind of making it up as they went, because it was such a time, the last like 20 years has been such a time of revolution in the music world, of like the internet being this thing that was like, oh, actually anyone can just go put music out now. There's no gatekeepers anymore.
Right.
And like you can find your niche group of people that enjoy what you do and find
Mm-hmm.
value in it, and you can like build a whole living off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to, no two people have to do it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we've really tried to lean into that and like create something of like, well, cool, if everyone's making it up. Like our manager was like, let's make a management company that will send all of our like prospective bookings to. So instead of it coming from this guy named Paul, it's coming from this like business.
Yeah.
But he's the only one that works there.
Mhm.
We just made up Stumptown
Mhm.
Management. It doesn't
Mhm.
exist. It's like just a thing on Twitter.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
But like, so kind of realizing that everyone's sort of making it up, and
Mhm.
I think there's lots of really great parts of the music industry, but I do think there's a lot of taking advantage at like some of those top tiers. But
Yeah, I feel like we've seen some examples, and obviously we're probably not the most, I feel like I'm personally not the most knowledge in this area, but it's been cool getting tastes of like, okay, we know this one band who, you know, it worked out really well. Like they were on this record label, and like each band member got a salary for 2 years, and they just had to put out 2 albums, and like that was really awesome for them and gave them a lot of stability and freedom and room to make their art. And you know, there's downsides of maybe they don't own their music, or you know, there's lots of stipulations sometimes, but it was really sweet for them. And then we've heard other stories from other bands where they you know, they make this beautiful, amazing album, and it gets pushed to all these areas where people know their name so much more because of this push. But it took, you know, whatever, $100,000 or more to make this album. And in order for them to make that up, like all the clicks and all the streams, like they're not seeing any of that money. Like the only way they make money is playing shows, and that's taxing, and you're traveling and you're not with your family and you're playing shows, you know, most days of the year. And, but that's how, so it's the what do you want, you know, like maybe sometimes that exposure and being more well known is worth, you know, giving up the, you know, the ownership of your song or giving up that. But so it is kind of deciding like where you live in that world and what's best. But I've really enjoyed where we're at and the route we're taking for now.
yeah, and we've tried to just take like the risks too, you know, of like, well, okay, we'll just try it, you know, those calculated risks.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those have paid off and been really cool. And but yeah, we've had a lot of negative experiences too, where I was like, oh yeah, that person just like stole thousands of dollars from us and like didn't care about our art. And I mean, a lot of the touring world is a bit like that. They're like, they don't listen to your music before you go play a show. They're like, how
Like a
many
venue,
how many people are gonna come buy a beer, dude?
Yeah.
Like, I tell them, Towers fans, dude, they're gonna come buy 2 beers. It doesn't matter when we start. If we start at 11 o'clock, or because we're always trying to go on early because we're parents, we're like, we want to start at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to go on at 11. We're
Oh,
like in
man.
San Francisco or something.
When there's a venue that tells me I need to go on at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, I'm like, you don't know. You don't know.
a lot of explicit.
And then you just have to convince them. 2 beers.
I was like,
it doesn't matter.
You're not going to sell
This is
more
our
beer.
crowd.
You're going to sell 2 beers tonight. Yeah.
So we could all be here late, or we can all leave early,
With the same amount of money.
and you'll turn the lights off early, so you'll save money.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
It's interesting though. We're always trying to navigate it, and our manager's so wonderful. Like there's no way we'd have been able to do this without him. Like he's such a special dude, and has really fought for us. Literally, almost fought for us at times. Like cocked back to like take punches
Yeah,
Oh
either
my
spit on a
gosh.
dude or punch him in the face.
at venues. Yeah, like really has stuck up for us in a way that we wouldn't have done for
Mhm.
ourselves.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
I cannot speak more highly of him.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear you just briefly. You just did it briefly, but you were talking about the Holly and the Ivy, and that album last year. Listening to it, like it was on heavy rotate
Oh,
for the
really?
entire season for me.
Thank you.
Like the Candy Christmas stuff, I can't tolerate, and that album was just so. Man, it was like a revelation, and that's like so genuine. Just like I listened to it the whole time.
Cool.
Such a cool album. Yeah.
Dude, we really appreciate that, man. That was such a funny thing to work on. Like, we put in a whole year's worth of work for that record, and it was such a bizarre thing to work so hard on something that only gets consumed every just like 2 months out of the year or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like The Holly and the Ivy, I mean, there's so many things I love about it. Like, I feel like it shouldn't be my favorite album of ours because it's just like our holiday album, which feels like it should just be like, oh, it's just this extra thing. But it really is like one of my favorites, if not my favorite album we've made. And maybe it's because I was like really hands-on in the writing process. Maybe it's because it came during this time of like we were in the middle of the pandemic. We were in summer of 2020, which so much was going on.
Yeah, our political climate. It was just weird. It was like you didn't know where to focus your attention as an artist, and you're just like, why not make some Christmas music?
Yeah, like the world was like rioting and falling apart, and we were like, let's go record like Silent Night. It's like so weird,
Yeah.
But also was really centering and
yeah,
a
don't you
sweet
think it
landing
fit?
place.
Like it fit so perfect. Of like
just
that the especially Greta and I were pretty involved like with a lot of ongoing discussions with politics. And as everybody was. Like I'm not trying to say that was a unique experience. But yeah, it felt like, oh, are we? Should we be writing like other music? And I was like, actually, no. This music, for some reason, it works. Like it somehow connects.
Well, for me, the tone you all struck with it too was it just wasn't the same. Like you all, the way that you approached it had a different tonality to it to me. And I don't know much about music, but it made it so much more palatable not to just listen to the same way. Like it had all the chord progressions, but you approached it so differently.
We did,
that it was like a new experience with songs that are so familiar and unifying rather than contributing the devices. It's funny because I didn't even put together in my mind that was at the same span of time that the U.S. was like chaos.
It was
like just
literally
divided chaos. And in my mind, it's so funny because when I think about this album and that month of time of spending time with my kids and driving around in the car listening to that album with them is such a different vibe than remembering what was going on politically in the U.S. And it was the same time frame. I hadn't in my memory, that's like two different distinct periods.
Right.
It's crazy.
No, yeah, I felt like it landed like right on the bullseye for me of like, oh, well, actually, I said a lot of the things I would have hoped to have said in like a normal record for this given period of time.
Yeah, it was extremely unique. And like in the tone and all that. I mean, again, for me, I keep referencing New Nostalgia, but it felt like almost a continuation of that and just kind of its feel in a sense. And I was wondering, like you're saying, like I would get the idea that as an artist to be like, here, let's make a Christmas record, and everyone else be like, oh gosh, I'm at that place where I'm making a Christmas record. You know what I mean? Like, oh no. I was wondering that, and then y'all did something different again that just turned out so well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
I think don't you think a big part of why it turned out well too was we had this like kick-ass band that we were about to go on tour with. We had like the most incredible tour lined up.
Yeah.
Some of the most, I've wanted to play some of these rooms like the whole time I've been a musician, and we were rehearsing and they were like, COVID, you can't go. And
it was literally like the week before we were about to leave, the world shut down.
And so we were all in this studio together in Colorado, and I was like, do you guys want to, I have this idea, I have this vision to create like kind of these more indie rock folk Christmas tunes where, and I had specific visions about rewriting the lyrics to be more like gender inclusive and, some like sort of top down, like high level vision. And this band that was with us, we demoed those songs exactly how you hear them on the record. Like all we did was we played through them, and we just, the vibe of the room was so unique. And I love that about music. Some of my favorite records, I think, have that captured magic of a moment. Like so much of the music we've worked on in the past has been this huge span of time, a year and a half, and that was like 3 days. And then the whole thing, we just came back here and we did overdubs and re-recorded a lot of stuff that needed to be re-recorded. But I think there was something in that was really special about, and I also like Greta and I got asked to do a Christmas concert this year. We love that record. We're like, we would love to do that. But we don't know how to really play many of those songs because we were pretty disconnected from it, which also I think made us like have a pretty clear perspective of it the whole time we were working on it and make decisions in such a way that maybe we wouldn't have done before. So
Yeah, I hope we get to play it out soon. I think we're going to try to do that next year, 2022, just have a little Christmas tour. But yeah, I think we're both really excited to rework those songs. And I mean, we even said from the very, very beginning, like, how do we make a Christmas album for people who don't like Christmas music? And it's funny, I feel like we have had people, I don't know, connect with that and relate with that and agree with that. But I hope it has a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, not as directly.
Yeah.
Dan is that guy.
I'm one of those people.
yeah. Totally, man.
We wrote an album for the Grinch.
Yeah.
Totally.
Scrooge.
I am that's me. Yeah.
I would wonder, we had talked about playing a couple of, or having
Yeah.
y'all play a couple of those songs or a song. Would you be open to that? Is that something you'd be interested in doing?
We'd love to.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to play 2 songs if that's okay.
Yeah.
One that each of us leads. Both of our favorites, right?
Yeah, it was hard to choose. We have 10 songs on this album, and only 3 of them are complete originals. The other ones are kind of reworked, older original Christmas songs. But these, we have 3 that we wrote, and we decided that the 2 we're going to share are 2 of the ones that are complete originals.
Awesome.
Come on. Yeah.
But just because they're our faves. But,
All right.
should we just go right into it here?
Yeah,
Kyle's already
express
whipping out
yourselves.
his guitar.
Yeah,
Here we go.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Would you want to go first with your song, Greta?
I don't care. You can totally go for it.
Okay. Well, let me get my guitar pick out of my skinny jeans.
They're not as skinny as they used to be.
Oh, man. Is this what the songwriting process is?
It's okay. That's what hooked me.
You saying I got fat?
I'm saying, we all had some phases in college of certain styles.
Oh,
Dude, I had some of the worst phases.
They were good.
Oh, this isn't the pick I wanted. Dang it. Gotta go back in here,
Oh,
y'all.
I'm glad.
Sorry
I love
about it.
every
Sorry
moment
about
of
it.
this right now.
Just watching me dig in my jeans. All right, here we go. I bet it's in this pocket right here. So I'm pretty picky as it comes to my picks. And
Picky
this
with
pick
your
right
picks.
here, I'm really proud of. It's a yellow pick for all of our people who can't see. And it's I love it because I've held on to it for like a year and a half. And if you play guitar, you know that that's like a serious victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems unreal.
That's like dog years type stuff, right? So it's like
Oh yeah.
a year and a half.
This
like
pick this pick is like in its 70s
Yeah.
right now.
The day shy of eternity. I'm gonna have to take a photo of that later for whenever we post this.
Here's the
That's-
pic.
Yeah, here's the pic.
The yellow
Yeah.
pic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 year and one
I'll
thing.
donate it to the show. No, I won't actually.
No, we're not taking that
Raffle it
from you.
That'd be bad juju for us.
Okay, well, this song it's called Swaying Evergreens, and it's a song that we wrote about the unity of like things that are physical and spiritual being like a big part of our journey, and how like those are just really great things and they're not autonomous. And so specifically during the Christmas season, just meditating on that. So,
Cool.
and if you don't think that's what it means, it can mean whatever the hell you want it to.
It's alright. Yeah, love it.
Many times they told me, beware of your flesh. So tell me why your Jesus was skin like the rest. And I know the touch of her soft skin, swaying evergreens, snow silently falling, making love to her in the morning. It all seems a holy thing. They say matter doesn't matter. Join naked to shame. think of Christmas. Oh,
It's a physical thing.
just like a touch of a soft skin, swaying evergreens. Snow silently falling, making love to her in the moment. It all seems a holy thing. Yeah. Seems a holy thing. Yeah. Seems the holy thing. Seems a holy thing. The touch of her soft skin, swaying evergreens. Snow silently falling, making love to her in the morning. It all seems a holy thing. Kind of forgot the last chord there. It's always such a gamble whether or not I hit that last note.
You got it, babe. You got it.
That was amazing.
Simone.
Yeah.
Man, if we were back in Le Chateau, we'd have that audience just.
Clapping.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot y'all have the built-in.
Yeah, we got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's turned into a thing.
Button game strong.
Button game strong. Yeah.
Nah, man,
Yeah.
I don't even want to joke right now though. Like, I hope people listening to this, I know that it will come through to some degree, but I wish they could feel the way it feels in the room, just the shared energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, it's such a special moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
that song will never be sung the same way ever again.
Yeah, come on.
Sure.
Okay, this next one is Greta, you talk about it.
Okay. We're gonna play Curious Woman, and we wrote this song. I don't know. I think honestly, like, I started with this concept of like fire and Christmas. Like, how can you put those two things together? And I instantly thought of just like child's birth.
The birth canal.
The birth canal.
Fire and Christmas.
Yeah, fire and
Fire
Christmas.
and Christmas,
Come on,
right?
I'm with you.
Yeah, and
We were all thinking that.
I don't even know why. But I mean, I am a mother and I have birthed 2 children, and then I like got on this like crazy thought where I was like, oh my gosh, like okay, for people who resonate with like Jesus being like God, right? And like Mary being this like mother, like if we connect all the dots here, it's like she literally was the first one to like crown the king. Get
Oh
it?
my
Oh,
Hey, come on.
I'm sorry, Kyle. You think I love it. You
I'm
love
not
my
gonna-
cheese.
I
You love
can't
my
play
cheese
this
right now.
next song with you.
I went there. I don't know. I'm just sharing my whole process right now. This isn't even where the song landed, but like,
Like when you talk like that, I feel like I have to cuss or
oh
something.
my god, you can. You really
Just
can.
yell.
But I don't know.
I'm totally kidding.
But I just thought that was such a cool thing. Like, I think like women are so amazing and powerful and strong, regardless of if they've had children or not. But just that vision of like crowning and how like much strength and power is in that moment. And yeah, so it's really just like it kind of turned into this like how do we celebrate like the power of women in Christmas, because it's such a part of the Christmas narrative. Yeah, and I think it was just a celebration of that and a celebration of that labor and, yeah, what we're all laboring in our lives and how we can find perspective and hope in the midst of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that process.
Totally.
That's awesome.
Thanks. I feel the flame, oh Madonna. I feel the heat of your child, birthing from all heaven's glory, clothed in the brown skin of God. I see a light in the desert, I see it blazing on high, burning down all preconceived notions of who you would be. Call it a sweet, oh a sweet premonition. We saw no defeat as we labored the weight of the fire. Curious woman, the revolution is your joy. I've kept my hopes locked away, I've kept my scars in a jar. I thought that love had a limit, careful not to reach too far. Flipping that table of lies, breached but I'm breathing just fine. Dear woman, please recognize divinity held inside. Call it a sweet, oh a sweet premonition. We saw no defeat as we labored the weight of the fire. Call it a sweet, oh a sweet premonition. We saw no defeat as we labored the weight of the fire. Curious woman, the revolution is your joy. Call it a sweet, oh a sweet premonition. Call it a sweet premonition. Hey, hey. I feel the flames, oh Madonna, I feel the heat of your child, birthing from all heaven's glory, clothed in the brown skin of God.
There it is.
Dang, y'all.
Jama.
Gemma. Man, thank you so much
Yeah.
for playing those tracks.
Yeah, thanks for having us, y'all. This has been so fun.
Man, and we haven't really got to play those songs out much, so it
Yeah.
feels fun to play them for people.
Yeah, on these Lone Bellow shows, we actually played Curious Woman a few times because we were just like, sounds like fun.
Yeah.
What would be in the future for you two? You have
Oh,
a
yeah.
record coming out, and then, what's on the horizon?
We're working on a batch of songs together right now. Those ones over there.
Yeah, like
And-
a typewriter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing a typewriter because I love the like commitment that you have to make to every line.
Hmm.
And like it's so easy for me to get just I love that I like get a line down and I commit to it a bit more than I would if it's on my phone or on my computer. So we've been like, as we finish songs, we'll like type them out and it feels a little bit more committal. Our goal is to take these songs and do guitar, drums, bass, and our vocals live in a studio in Colorado. This studio is a bit small for it. And we're going to take those tracks back here after we're done with them. And the goal is just to have like these songs are going to be much more intimate, I think, in their sonic value.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Hauling Ivy was kind of this bigger, more at times rock and roll production. These next songs for some reason, they just feel like they're presenting themselves to us in this like slightly more close kind of feel.
Okay.
So yeah, I just want to lean into texture and the sounds of home, like doing a lot of field recording and almost like hip hop interludes, that idea with like just noises from I really want the record to feel like Flagstaff, you know? I don't know if y'all listen to that new Killers record where they like do the interviews in between, and like the essence of that was so cool to me. It just felt like it was his home, you know?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah, we're excited about that. And then the spring is just going to be a sweet time of working on that. And then we also are going to be on the road for 4 weeks. And we're going to be opening up for Joshua Radin from the end of February to beginning of March time. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. And that'll be with us and one other friend playing with us. And yeah, kind of just jumping back into playing shows some more. So looking forward to that.
That's so cool, man. When Jamie found out that y'all were touring with Joshua Radin, she just like jumped out her boots, you know what I mean? Like,
dude.
just, that's like when we were dating, that was the person that she was listening to. Like,
no way.
It was like, I feel like Joshua Radin was kind of in the background of our,
oh my God,
wherever we were driving almost.
Well, if you guys can make it to the Crescent Ballroom show, we'll totally get you on our guest list so you can come and like hang and
come on.
dude, that'd be such a treat. That'd be
we
so
looked
fun.
that up. It's like a Tuesday night or something.
Oh, it would
It's a
be.
Tuesday night. Yeah.
Man, we might have to swing that though. It sounds super cool.
Yeah, we're gonna do a show here in Flagstaff to kick it off beforehand.
Cool.
So
Okay.
if you wanted to catch it there, you could.
Yeah.
Right? We're gonna try to do that.
We're trying
It's
to
not
get that
official yet.
But
Yeah, just
dialed
that
in.
stuff, and then just trying to be just like good partners and good friends and parents and all that stuff is probably more on the docket. got a lot of dishes ahead of me.
Yeah, I know how that goes, man.
Oh man, I'm like the dish guy at our house, dude.
So grateful.
Yeah, that's how it rolls. Yeah.
Anyways,
Well, all the best with recording, touring, and doing dishes.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
To no more broken dishes, man.
Cheers to that. Cheers to the
Cheers
dishes.
to that. Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Love yous.
All right. Sound quality back, level down.
Yeah, level down, back kind of in the dunny. Yeah, where we belong. Yeah.
This is Le Chateau, not the Dunny.
Yeah, it just sounds like the dunny, right?
It does sound like
We
the
kind of
Dunny
got the privilege
comparatively.
of like getting out of the dunny into the chateau, and then we got the privilege of getting out of the chateau and then realizing, oh, there's a whole world out there.
There
Things
is.
can sound different.
There is.
Yeah.
And what a great world that was, huh?
Yeah, slumming it down there in the studio, huh?
Yeah, it was. You know, I, in listening back to the interview, I just realized that Kyle and Greta, they really owe us a debt of gratitude for asking them so many high quality
Just
questions.
caliber question, high caliber question, just rattling them off, huh? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
I mean, are we good at that or not? Like,
just
solid questions.
yeah. I was gonna go in one direction and just be like, yeah, we are the best. It's hard to do that with a straight face.
It is. In actuality, this is all just a joke about how he kept thanking us for asking him questions.
Yeah, Kyle was so kind, man. Just
He
like
is.
the nicest person. I mean, even thanking us for asking him questions.
Yeah, the
Just so
nicest
kind.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like Greta too, man. Like they are just
Two of
super
the
kind.
nicest people.
Yes, gentle, nice. Yeah.
Did they win that Viola Award for kindness?
I believe that was one of the awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the million?
One of the million of them that they've won.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the like Flagstaff Creative Arts Award for just being kind.
Yeah.
Like these are the nicest artists ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great sitting with them, wasn't it?
Man, yeah, I know I've referenced this in the past, but like something the pod misses is it just doesn't capture that feel, what it's actually like to be in the room, right?
It doesn't. And this, I mean, I think it was exemplified here maybe more than ever because there was so much ambiance. And that moment of playing music, and then specifically when they started out playing Swaying Evergreens, like it honestly, just the feeling in that space was incredible.
It really was. Yeah, the pod can't capture that at all.
Nah.
Well, like if you could describe what you felt, what'd you feel?
Yeah.
This
And
is your nightmare.
us talking about it's just going to be,
Yeah.
just going to make it worse.
It's gonna make it even worse.
No, it felt unifying. Like if I were to do my best to articulate it, it felt like everyone in there sharing this collective space and this collective energy in the room. It just felt so unifying rather than divisive. Which for me was so meaningful. Also, the meaning of those lyrics to me. So Kyle, I apologize if I'm off on this.
Okay, come on. We got a DI. We got a Dunny interpretation.
Yeah, but the swaying evergreens.
Yeah.
The emphasis on, like, I understand him to be talking about how sometimes the physical nature of things is dismissed, and particularly our physical bodies, but also just physical things. Like the lyric in there that says, they say matter doesn't matter. It's referencing how in fact it does. Is so meaningful to me. It's the matter does matter, but what you are introducing in terms of those objects and things into your life, the sentimentality behind them is what's important.
Yeah.
And if it's just a lot of surfacey plastic stuff, it can just be not very significant, but otherwise carry so much meaning and love.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Hearing you describe that, what I was thinking of is just actually like the aesthetic in that room, and it like just how the physical thing can create this feeling, and you're describing us like this moment feeling really unifying. And for me, I was thinking of all the ways in which everything in there also contributed to that.
Yeah. Describe that. Describe the space.
Man, the space for me is just incredible to be in, right? So Kyle has done an amazing job building out that studio, right? Like for Lore Audio and for his music and everything that he's recording and helping with and engineering. He's created an incredible studio. And for me, there's this ambiance. It's like kind of like the best way I could try to describe this is like leather dipped in whiskey, man. Like it's like brown and like it feels super earthy in a way and has these really rich tones to it. And then just the lighting itself is like kind of like, it feels like you're inside of an Edison bulb almost. Like it just feels orange almost. Yeah.
That last comparison that strikes home, like inside an Edison bulb, like an orangish color.
Yeah.
Edison bulb.
Yeah. It's like it just felt incredible and it sounded amazing.
It
right?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those aspects, those physical things contributed to this feeling that was, I don't know, I love hearing you described it as unifying. For me, it's just like very content, very present.
Yeah. This collective ambiance that just felt present in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. So thank you, Kyle and Greta. We owe you. And please stop thanking us for asking questions.
Yeah, if anything, we're on the we owe you side of things here.
Yeah,
for sure.
And if anything, I hope that collective unifying energy we're describing, I hope that's what people feel throughout their lives, but during this time of year specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you don't have that album, The Holly and the Ivy, go get it because it will contribute to your season.
Yeah, put it on, enjoy yourself,
just let it ride.
Yeah, no doubt.
With that,
lovies.
Oh wait, take us out by shouting us out.
Oh man, this is our last interview of the year, huh?
Yeah.
Dang, man. Of course we would like swing and a miss on our outro of the last interview of the year, right?
Yeah, 2021.
2021. Take us out by shouting us out, no doubt. Well, you can always find us on the interwebs, www.beyondflag.com, flag spelled
FLG.
And then I think what we learned from our last interview is that we are indeed content creators.
Oh, no, I think absolutely we are not.
Yeah, no, there was 2 votes, there were 2 yays and then 1 nay.
Oh, no, I think there were several nays.
From one person, which were dismissed.
No,
yeah, a lot of hanging chads on that.
Those votes count as more.
Yeah, so content creators.
If someone votes 1, that's worth 1.
Yeah.
If someone votes the second time, that's worth 2. If someone votes a third time, that's worth 3.
Okay.
No, but not worth. Or maybe it's like the Fibonacci sequence where then it goes 3 to 5 to 8.
Fibonacci or Versace, man. These rules are made up. This doesn't matter. We are content creators. So if you want some prime content on Instagram,
even if we are content creators,
it's not prime. That's a good point.
If you want to consume some content,
Hit us up.
If you'd like some content, you can find us on Instagram and sometimes on the Twitters. Beyond_flag.
Yeah, take care.
Love yous.